Morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you and you. It's hashtag Fuck Off Friday. Sally, can I say a special coconut? Says Fiona Reid. I don't know what on earth she's talking about. A special coconut. Oh, God, I want to do that voice, wasn't it? It's mine. Nicola Higgins, Sally O'Sullivan, Gabrielle. Good Chip Lollipop, Faith Goodman, Melissa Phillips, Zoe Zigzag, Silkani, Fiona Reid. Who's been watching, who's been following the Johnny, I mean, obviously we're doing the evening lives on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, but I thought it's kind of one of the top headlines everywhere today, which is why I've put Amber Heard's performance in this title too. I don't know if any of you've seen it. I don't know if any of you have caught some of her sort of the highlights. I've been criticised for not just jumping in with two boots and saying she's performing. I think you have to do a little bit of due diligence, don't you? If someone's claiming some of the severity of the things that she said, we have no way of knowing. We have no way of knowing what's true and what's not true. But we are allowed to infer from the way in which she's talked and a lot of the kind of context. I think we are allowed to infer some things, but I chose to go there gently. And it put me in mind of the fact, thank you very much, Sophie. It just put me in mind of the fact that it's an incredibly hot potato, this. People are, well, I think 90% of people are behind Depp. And sometimes you just have to ask the question that when everyone is so, and I'm with you. I'm with the vast majority. My soft spot is with Depp. My preference is with Depp. My belief and desire is to think that this is all absolute garbage and she's a total charlatan. But what if she isn't? I suppose that's the question, isn't it? It's just it's very difficult. It's very difficult to kind of just, no, I'm having a bad hair day, that's why I've got it on. It's just very difficult to, I think, to really jump in a harsh fashion without first treading carefully around some of the things that she's saying. For example, last night, I think she very much was on the receiving end of dealing with an addict. And yet, I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. Fundamentally, every time I go to be fair and balanced and equalised, I don't believe her. Sorry. I just don't believe her. And I think it comes down to that. If you're on the jury, and it's principally male jury, and I think I said on one of the lives this week, that traditionally, when you have principally male juries dealing with cases like this, they invariably find in favour of the woman. What do you think of that? Yeah. Okay, let's ask. Let's do a poll. This is of and non-committed to the Johnny and Amber. Do any of you believe Amber? There you go. Chloe, I think she does have a personality disorder, and I think Dr. Curry is correct. I think she's a very bad example for domestic violence victims. They will find it harder to be believed in future. Linda Fissett, I feel it may be half a dozen of one and six of the other, but find it all very sad. Sophie R, I'd like it if every day you could finish each of the nightly lives by saying where you are after that day's proceedings, i.e. percentages for each side. It would be interesting to track changes. I don't like going into anything 100% thinking one thing if I don't know all the facts. At all. Otherwise, it's kind of, what's the point of having a brain? Do you know what I mean? I can't, obviously I've heard lots of press around it. Obviously I saw the kind of, the case with the son and all that kind of stuff. But I really wanted to kind of just let this stuff percolate in. I was even sort of holding back a bit from when just Johnny was testifying and all that, because I just wanted to hear her voice. I wanted to get a sense of her. And I have to say, Michelle, my concern with it all is whether Amber is performing or not, everyone vilifying her has wider repercussions and could put victims of domestic violence off coming forward believing they'll be treated the same. Precisely, absolutely. And I think that's the danger with, and I think what Michelle, ever on the money. I think what one has to do with this case is, if we're talking about this case as sorry, just one sec. If we're talking about this case as representative of domestic violence cases, it's really important that one just doesn't keep knocking her into touch and kind of criticizing her performance and saying, yeah. If, on the other hand, we're treating this as an exceptional case, not one that's going to have an impact on future, the way in which future victims of domestic violence are treated, are judged, and all that kind of stuff, which is crucial. And we're looking at it as a bit of Hollywood spectacle, which, if I'm honest, I think that's what the vast majority of people are doing. They're looking at this like they aren't real humans, but they're characters in a film. And to that extent, they're both performers, they're both performing. If we're talking about her performance in the dock yesterday, separate to the overarching topic of domestic abuse, we're tiptoeing, I thought it was really embarrassing, and it didn't help her cause at all. It felt too considered, it felt too stage managed, it felt too, ironically, I was going to say too directed, but actually it felt too undirected. Those transitional points between grief, despair, distress, total clarity, and then lack of clarity, and then suddenly back to the halcyon hills of meeting Johnny and falling in love with him. There was an aspect of it all. Now, you could argue this is because she's having to re-access all of these details, emotions, experiences from the past. So there is an aspect of distance here. But in all these cases, one of the key aspects of any domestic abuse case or repeated violence case or sexual abuse cases, can we chart repetitive complaints and behaviour like this? We can't with Johnny. But then, like some say, was she the catalyst? Did she unleash the beast? Did she release the monster? How will we ever know? How will we ever know? Jordan Stevenson, she also kept saying as well, oh yeah, I forgot about that, once her counsel reminded her of stuff, so rehearsed. Sophie R, I 100% believe Johnny will lose this case, but so far I'm 100% on his side. It's interesting, isn't it? Okay, so there's a difference between who you want to win versus who will win. Who thinks, okay, they'd like him to win and think he should win, and think that she's embellishing and is a sort of, a fraud, but that she'll win. I do think there's some truth to what Amber is saying, but how much of it has been hyped up, I'm not sure. Emma does life. I totally agree with you, Gabrielle. There's no hard evidence. Can't wait for Camille, that's Amber's lawyer, to cross-examine. She'll tear her lies apart. Gabrielle, the problem is there is no hard evidence. Jordan Stevenson, whatever the outcome of the case, I think Johnny will come out of this better. I personally think that's what Johnny's gone for. I think however this plays out, and we've heard the worst of it now, haven't we? We really have heard the worst of it in terms of accusations. If he can ride this, and even if it was like, I don't know, because they could find in favour of Johnny, but not agree to the $50 million. They might, I heard someone saying somewhere that they might say, yes, you were defamed, but actually your career was kind of on the downward sort of descent anyway, so your claim for this amount of damages isn't appropriate. Sophie R, has anyone seen the footage of Amber's sister being interviewed after she was attacked by Amber? Quite shocking how reluctant she is. She looks shell-shocked. No, I haven't seen that. If Johnny loses, will she countersue still? Well, presumably, doesn't her countersuit immediately kick in? Or does that happen concurrently at the same time? Deb Simpson, she continuously picked a scab, taunting him. Not that his actions were all right, but no matter who you are, you will have a tipping point. That point is incredibly complicated, isn't it? Incredibly complicated. If you keep picking on someone, at some point there is something called provocation, and that's going to make someone flip. If you then add into that heady cocktail, drink, drugs, mental health issues, then you're playing with fire, aren't you? But then, of course, if that person steps over the mark and lashes out, boom, you've got them hook, line, and sinker. What I don't understand, though, is that if that's the case, why hasn't she got more convincing footage or evidence? There's something about it that every time you go to grab this, it slips out of your hands. Every time I feel I've got a grasp on it, it slips out of your hands. Every time you think it can only go this way, it slips out of your hands. Different judgment as to whether she's a good or a bad actress. Zoe Agnew, we just have to hope she hasn't fooled the jury. Can you imagine when we do that? What about when they actually do the reading out? Should we go live as they're reading it out? That would be exciting, wouldn't it? We could have a live response. We could all be live. Let's do that. The evidence doesn't match what she's saying. Johnny's team will prove that. Well, I hope it's not the guy who cross-examined Dr. Hughes. He was rubbish. I liked his voice, but I hated his rubbish. Coffee moaning. Why hasn't she pressed criminal charges? Okay, let's do one other poll before we move on. Has the trial helped Depp's public image? Ask the community. I love that. Ask your community. It's a community. We've got a community here. Has the trial helped Depp's public image? There's the question. Vicky Hug, Mark's round. Oh, bless you. Mark's roundup each night of the JD trial is great. This is something very authentic and compelling when listening to someone who's lived with his own addictions talk about this subject. That was all I was saying last night. I think there's impatience around this. I think people want to jump on sort of people who are commenting on it or, I don't know, sort of talking about it, and they want to know that you are on their side. You are Team Depp. Okay, so for total transparency, I'm majority Team Depp. The minority that I'm not Team Depp doesn't mean I'm Team Heard. It's just that I think you have to have a modicum of doubt around anyone who has been an addict to the extent that Johnny has. And whilst it was chaotic and crazy. Johnny, no one really gets to Johnny's levels other than Keith Richards. And even he hasn't got into that much trouble that we know of. But if you're not like 100% blindly saying Depp, I think people get a bit, what's wrong with you? Can't believe you believe her. I'm not saying I believe her. I think she's using, microscopic bits of truth about what it means to live with an addict to amplify this tapestry of embellishment and exaggeration and unprovable trauma. Uli Bloom, take the recording of him groaning, made me feel pity for the guy, to be honest, instead of being repulsed. Addiction is a mental illness. Laurel Nichols, people have grown up with him and his films. They don't want to see him as anything else but a pirate or a character. He's coming across as a bit of a pirate to me, don't you? Don't you think? I mean, we watched Pirates of the Caribbean the other day, and his character, it's an interesting character, Captain Jack Sparrow. He's not, though he's the hero, he's an anti-hero. He has no morals. He just goes with whatever kind of suits him best, a little bit like Harrison Ford, Han Solo. He's a buccaneer. He'll throw you under the bus if he needs to survive. And he's a coward. And if you think about some of the stuff that we keep hearing about how he wanted to escape his mum's abuse and horribleness, and he wants to, all the recordings we can hear of him trying to leave Amber and get out and go away and Lily, if you think of Captain Jack Sparrow in his films, his character is constantly wanting to leave and go somewhere else. Literally, every single scene, he's trying to escape a situation, a brawl, a fracas, a fight, and get someone. He's always looking for an escape route. And he's not bravura, and he's not. He's self-effacing, Captain Jack Sparrow. And I just think, like he said, I'm going off on one here. I think when he says that he created so much more to the kind of he is the Pirates of the Caribbean brand. You know, it's like saying, yes, I don't know. It's like saying Indiana Jones isn't Harrison Ford. It's ludicrous. Nika Saloki, oh Amber, the lies, the lies, the lies, god damn it. Yes, someone was saying she lifted did she lift it word for third? Word for third? Word for turd? Did she lift it word for turd from the talented Mr. Ripley, which I have to confess I never rated as a film. The talented Mr. Ripley, did she really? She can't have. Did someone do a Google search on her words? Oh, Elsa Pop's got brilliant news. Where are you, Elsa Pop? Let's go. I'm going to find you. You're going to have to wait for me. Let me find you. The Creeper family, good morning. Sunny morning. Elsa Pop. I can't see anything from Elsa Pop. Oh, Elsa Pop. Mark, I have to share a big life achievement for you. I suffer with a stammer when nervous, and all my life other people have made all my telephone calls for me. On Wednesday, I rang my GP myself. I don't know if you like me swearing, but effing brilliant. Well done. That is so, can everyone give Elsa Pop a round of applause and a big hug? That's a major, major achievement. Congratulations. Well done. Julie Neary, that's good news. Your son's not home, but you've spoken to him. That's really good news. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased. Purple Newy, as soon as Amber Heard made those accusations, there will always be doubt unless the cross-examination can prove otherwise. I mean, look. If Johnny had, sorry, we're sticking with this. It's so in me. It's like if you cut through me, it's there like a stick of rock. It says Heard Depp. If he hasn't done these things, how awful to forever have that attachment to you now with his children. I particularly feel his sort of squeamishness around the accusations when she talks about Lily Rose, because no one likes someone else who's not, family or is family to comment on the mental state of your children and how you've affected it. No one likes that. No one likes that. And also, it's no one's place, really, is it? Faith Goodman, I'd believe her more if she had better video and photos. Yeah, she wasn't very good, was she? She wasn't very good at filming at the right times. Mandy Wilson, sleep well. That's what I'm going to do. So yeah, so that's the Amber Heard's performance. It was proper waterworks. It was proper, but as dear Michelle says, we have to be careful that in finding, I'm trying to find the right way to describe this. I'm quite, I don't usually struggle this much with this kind of concept. We have to find a way of representing her over the topness and her theatre and the apparent lack of sincerity and her cry wolfness and all the stuff that we're feeling. We have to make sure that if we feel that, and not all of us do, but if we feel that, it doesn't bleed over into a sort of dismissal of other people who struggle or other experiences of domestic abuse. It has to, the only way one can be like this and be sort of firmly like, no, I don't believe Amber, she's talking shit, she's manipulative, is if it's just localised to the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case. Okay? So there we go. Vanessa Wilde, it's the biggest story that everyone's talking about. I recognise that it's not for everyone, but you know what? Let's get on to something that is happening, which is a bit boring, but at least it's real. The elections, the local elections. Well, I don't think Keir Starmer, look, they're running around, everyone's running around going, oh, Labour's got Westminster, oh, Labour's got Wandsworth. Jenny Scam, what if she is telling the truth? Then it's just awful. It's just awful. But that's the problem with it. That's why I keep going back to it. Get me off it. I'd rather talk about that than the fucking local elections. I'll tell you that for nothing. Local elections, basically, Labour, as is always the way with these things, what a pointless, pretend faux democratic piece of shit these elections are. What a load of fucking nonsense. The Tories, you know, to be fair to the Tories, to the Conservative Party, I don't think it's this bad. I think for what they've gone through, for where we are, for what normally happens to any incumbent or sitting government at this point, you're always going to get a protest vote. And if this is the protest vote, get Keir Starmer out now. Because he ain't got it. He ain't got it. You know, Beergate is now brewing, literally, like a pint. Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, has said there's an equivalence between the two parties. The Tories are loving it. This is not a disaster. Today, Boris will have woken up with a spring in his step and a sort of curious look in the corner of his eye. They'll be happy. Boo to the election. So, you know, these tiny microscopic crumbs of kind of, oh, we won Wandsworth, who cares? Oh, we won Westminster, who cares? It's relevant to no one. What matters is what do the real people all the length and the breadth of the country feel? And sadly, the vast majority of people, sadly only because of our politics, but the vast majority of people want them to carry on. Chin chin. Another 10 years, please, of doffing a cap. Yes, Your Honour. Yes, Your Honour. All that bollocks. We are so sold a pup when it comes to the idea of democratic elections. We really are. What a load of old bunkum. So you're going to hear the Labour Party saying, yeah, well, we won here, this is good. You're going to hear the Tory Party saying, well, it's not as bad as we thought. We've held on to 6. You're going to hear Ed Davey, bless him, very nice guy, Liberal Democrats going, yeah, we're the middle party. We're kind of, it's the same old shit, same old shit. I've seen it so many times. I remember when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I'd get so excited at elections because I thought, it would change. We can change. And to be fair, we did get change when Tony Blair came in. And it felt like, you know, Thatcher was never going to go and all that. But I think everyone's given up. Everyone's given up now. So election, you're going to hear all about the elections all day today. Just quickly going back to Sophie, our final comment on the Johnny Depp. Dr. Curry, who was the psychologist brought in for Depp's team, said that Amber is prone to overly dramatic presentations that lack substance. You'll see quick shifts in emotions, become very animated to sad. How true. Very true, isn't it? Very true. Don't worry, we're going to get to the quiz of the week in a moment. The Queen may pass opening of Parliament to Prince Charles. Now, you could see this as another sign of her age, her not feeling well, her being vulnerable. Are we living in a regency situation? Should she abdicate? Should she abdicate? I can't remember, did I actually ask that question? No, I didn't. Should she abdicate from the throne? I don't know. You know, so she's not, but maybe she's not going to Parliament because she can't fucking stand politicians. Has anyone thought that? Maybe the Queen sat there with her corgis thinking, why, I've done this so many times and it doesn't mean a thing. And she's just had enough. What if she's become the ultimate rebel? And she's just like, sod it all. I love the Queen. It's kind of contradiction, isn't it? But it's not. I love the Queen. I love her. I think she's shown dignity and she's shown poise. Whilst, yes, she's got a family littered with absolute fools and morons, she's a constant. She's the relative that you just think, I can rely on her to just be her. Well, she's had enough. She's had enough. She's put her foot down. She's put her foot down and nearly hit the corgi. She's like, I don't want to go to fucking Parliament and do the Queen's speech. Charlie boy, you go and do it. That's what she's saying. Go on, Charlie. Oxycontin doesn't make you violent. I've had it for pain relief, Rachel Jones. I'm just dropping in these. What I love is that there are so many little spits of information that come through from everyone about the Johnny Depp thing. I reckon the Queen is at home and she's going, sod this for a lark. I want to watch the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. I mean, I know not a lot of people are in the celebrity thing. Everyone thinks it's ephemeral. Everyone thinks it's pointless. And what is the point? But you know what? Sometimes it's just nice for a bit of an escape. To escape things. I just like to escape things. Love the Queen. We've all got a few oddballs in the family. You're certainly right there. So yeah, so the Queen may pass on the Queen's speech. She might hand it to the Prince of Wales. Let's do a little poll. Let's do, oh, what's happened here? Oh, I don't like that. Get off. Sorry, my poll has disappeared. There we go. So what have you got here? 70% say yes, the trial has helped Johnny Depp. Okay, well, here's a different question. Not about the Depp Amber Heard thing. Let's do a question about something other than that. Let's talk about the Queenie. Okay, so Queen. Should Queen abdicate, resign, and let Charles come in? Answers on the postcard. Do you remember SAEs? Does anyone else remember that? Stamped addressed envelopes. Does anyone remember those? Put it on an SAE. Stamped addressed envelopes. Swap shop. You used to do that, didn't you? Was it swap shop? You put in there. So you send something to someone, but you put in an already stamped addressed envelope. Faith Goodman, I heard about that. Virgin flight turned back because the guy driving the fucking thing didn't have enough experience, wasn't trained. Do you think they shared that news? So what have we got here? Look, a few votes in. A little bit like the local elections. A quarter of you saying yes, she should abdicate. I think let her have her twilight years. Let her just put her feet back, have a cocktail, shoot the breeze with her corgis. Always wonder what's in the Queen's handbag. I know what you mean, Gabrielle. Yeah, I know what you mean. I wonder if there's any chewing gum in there. You know what I mean? So, okay, so 3/4 of you, 75% say no, 25% say yes. Okay, here's a weird story. Woman, I suggested to Nadia they should do this on Loose. Woman who sabotaged partner's condoms in bid to get pregnant just dodges jail. What do you think of this, guys? A 39-year-old woman secretly poked holes in her partner's condoms to fall pregnant. She's been handed a 6-month suspended sentence. That's quite something, isn't it? Was it in Germany? I think it might have been in Germany. The woman, the pair had been in a friends with benefits relationship, meeting for regular sex from the start of last year. The woman went on to fall for the 42-year-old man, but they were not reciprocated. The emotions weren't reciprocated. She was unsuccessful in her bid to get pregnant, but messaged her partner claiming that she expected a child and admitted she'd sabotaged the condoms. Anne Murray, that's a good question. Were they on at the time? Or did he just have them on his head? Did he discover, because he put them on his head to blow them up like all stupid idiot men do at some point, and it didn't blow off his head, if you know what I mean. Everything about that sentence sounds wrong. Put a condom on his head and didn't blow off his head. It's a disgusting, dreadful. Why didn't she just go down a sperm donation route? So silly, says Russ. Maybe she liked his eyebrows. Maybe it was something about his eyebrows. Just made her think, it's got to be him. I've got to do whatever I can with this packet of Durex. I need those eyebrows in my child. Sophie R, truly despicable. Oh, true. The outrage if it had been a man pinpricking his own condoms before sex with the unknown partner would be insane. Glad there were consequences. I think we Nadia years ago did a sort of podcast chat about sperm stealing. I thought she meant bad for but no, I think she means along these lines. Couple of curious finds. I like a find. Does anyone else like sort of people who discover fossils and gold and things like that? Does anyone like? I do. I've got a feeling that those kind of things always happen on a Friday afternoon. I do. Like that pot of gold in Frome in Somerset somewhere. Didn't they find a pot of gold in a field? I think that probably happened on Friday at about 3:30. I don't know. You know how some people can see in flavours and can hear in tastes? I think of stories in times, like it happened at that time. Okay, so charity shop. A charity shop find turns out to be an ancient Roman bust. Not a bust, a bust. Probably taken from wartime Germany. The bust was sold for $35 at a Texas charity shop, but turned out to have been taken from Germany in the chaotic days of the 1940s. Miss Young, an antiques dealer who regularly visits charity shops for treasures, said there was something about this one that seemed different. He looked Roman. This is American. He looked Roman. He looked old. In the sunlight, it looked like something that could be very, very special. All happening on a Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon. Promising you this is Friday afternoon. Turned out that it was from a time between the late 1st century BC to the early 1st century AD, and it had disappeared from Germany. So it wasn't from the time of Germany, it was even older than that, but it had disappeared from Germany. The bust made its first official appearance in 1833. Wow, of course, we're all sitting here like on the Antiques Roadshow saying, but how much is it worth? And they don't say. So just when you go to your charity shop, if you see a bust, you know, a statuesque bust, check it out. It might be worth a fortune. But this story is really sweet. And if I was doing the thing, we are going to try and do the thing that we do for the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard lines. We started to use the tech, I think it's StreamYard, that allows us to pop up photos and play in clips. But you have to use the camera on your laptop, which isn't as good. And also, it requires a lot of pre-prep and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. But we had to get this out early today. But so we would have a photo of this. So just imagine a triangle shaped that size. This boy, Sammy Shelton, found, oh, bless him, Sammy Shelton found the tooth of a terrifying 60-foot megalodon. I can't say it, megalodon. Like the Meg, starring Jason Statham. A tooth of a 60-foot megalodon, and it washed up on a UK beach in Suffolk. I remember, it's very, how do you know? Well, I mean, you look at the photo, wow, there's a photo of a megalodon. That's really frightening, guys. It really frightened me. I just had to do that. So frightening. He was walking along on the beach. He was just age 6. He unearthed a 4-inch tooth from one of the world's largest prehistoric sharks. He said, it looked like a tooth, but it was big. I'm very pleased, and I'll be keeping it safe. And there's a photo of his grubby little fingers, and he's got a great big triangular teeth, which is so sweet. Megalodon. Thank you so much, Julie Everts. Megalodon. Megalodon. Giant, super giant shark. I always wanted to find something like that. Years and years ago, when I was shooting a film in Chile, I've talked about it in all our addiction things, we're all off our tits. There was one point where we landed on a part of this desert where no man had stood before, because the helicopter had put us on this vantage point and we were filming down. And I looked to my right and I found there was this, well, you can only describe it as an egg-shaped thing. And I put it in our crew bag, and we took it back to base and what have you. And some of the team, some of the kind of trekkers, guides, runners, fixers that were out there, they looked at it and they said, they said, that's a dinosaur egg. I was like, that'd be ridiculous. I mean, we had found it on a piece of sandy jut that no human had ever stood on before. It was perfectly shaped, it was like an egg. And then I lost it. I lost the fucking egg. It was a dinosaur egg and I lost it, guys. Doing a bit of an Amber Heard there. So I kind of moved myself. It's all right. I was just remembering losing it. That's all. Quiz of the week. It wasn't heavy at all. It was tiny. You get these moments hit you. They you can't control them. They just come at you. Like they did for Amber. Amber Nectar. Oh, Sophie, 2 episodes away from the end of Severance. Okay, quiz of the week. Come on then, guys. Gotta go. Quiz of the week. Get your pens ready. If you're new to the channel, every Friday we do a sort of brief, silly, unscientific, not comprehensive quiz of some of the news stories of the week. Some people get 7 out of 7, and if they do, I know they go into the weekend with a spring in their step and a little spark in their eye and a little sphincter muscle sound that goes boo. So let's see if we can do that. Oh, and for some reason my page has gone funny. Let me just, here we go. So, question 1. Does anyone remember when you used to do this at school? And I'm not going to say what we used to do it for. Naughty. The shirt, question 1. Just go A, B, or C. Not 1, 2, or 3. Just go A, B, or C. You don't have to write the whole name of the answer. Just go A, B, or C. The shirt Diego Maradona wore when he scored the infamous Hand of God goal for Argentina against England in the 1986 World Cup sold for 7.1 million. But who had owned it? A, England midfielder Steve Hodge. B, Maradona's family. Or C, opposing captain Peter Shilton. I know the answer. A, England midfielder Steve Hodge. B, Maradona's family. Or C, the opposing captain Peter Shilton. Sold for 7.1 million. Some of you saying Captain Peter Shilton. A few of you are saying England midfielder Steve Hodge. I think this is split right down the middle. I was going to do a poll, but then you don't get the joy of it being you who answers. Because the only problem with the poll is it's anonymous. Split between B and A. It's B and A, B and A. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. It's A, England midfielder Steve Hodge. And the reason I believe that's probably the case is at the end of the match, they all take their tops off and they all swap them, don't they? Steve Hodge got his. Little did he know. Little did he know. Question 2. Oh. Conservative Neil Parish, you know, the guy who was looking for a tractor, a Dominator tractor, but accidentally went onto a porn site whilst at the House of Commons. I have to confess, I had, my heart went out to him a bit actually. If you look at my Instagram stories yesterday, I posted something with a blue tit saying spring hath sprung early. And I put, how early has it sprung? I tell you what, when you put in a search, spring tits, blue tits aren't the first thing that comes up. Conservative Neil Parish said he would resign as an MP after admitting he'd watched pornography in Parliament. But what did he say he'd been looking at? I've given you the answer. What did he say he'd been looking at before happening on the adult content? Was he looking for A, shire horses, B, steam trains, or C, tractors? This is a shoo-in, guys. You must be able to get this one. My name is Mark and I'm a poll addict, Vanessa Wall. Come on then, A, B or C. If you don't all say C, there's something up. Come on guys. There's an opportunity for everyone to get one because I gave you the answer in the asking of the question. Shoot me as the quizmaster, shoot me. Shoot me. Just gonna have some water. Need a bit of Nadia's. Oh, Christ. Oh, it smells of her. It makes me feel so fond. Jenny J, horse. Steam. No, it's tractors. C. 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 Okay, question 3. Met Gala. Hope you're paying attention to Nads. Ow. Lavish outfits graced the Met Gala in New York with actress Vanessa Hudgens sporting a Moschino ball gown with a Marilyn Monroe-inspired billow. What? Hang on. Actress Vanessa Hudgens sporting a Moschino ball gown with a Marilyn Monroe-inspired billow. But who borrowed one of Monroe's actual dresses for the party? You must have been asleep if you don't know this one. Is it A, Kim Kardashian, B, Sarah Jessica Parker, or C, Gwen Stefani? Which one of those 3 wore Monroe's actual dress that she sang Happy Birthday to JFK in? Ooh, ooh. I think there's a delay. Is there a delay? Gwen Stefani, someone saying, is it Kim Kardashian, Sarah Jessica Parker, or Gwen Stefani? Oh, there's a delay on my screen up there. There's no delay down here. Sorry, no delay. Sorry, there's a delay on my phone for sure. It's so slow. So I'm going to go back to here. I have to come on and off the screen though. Okay, vast majority of you going A, Kim Bob. Given up already, Linda Fissett, but I gave you the answer to number 2. And this one, Kim Kardashian. Hey, there you go. You've got 2. You've got 2, Linda. Don't tell anyone. Okay, so yeah, the answer was A, Kim Kardashian. Question 4. Tennis great was jailed for 2.5 years for hiding $2.5 million in assets to avoid paying his debts. It ended a legal saga that had briefly seen him bid for diplomatic immunity from which nation? So from which nation did Boris Becker seek diplomatic immunity? Central African Republic, A, Ecuador, B, or United Arab Emirates? I didn't actually know this aspect of the story. Where had he briefly sought diplomatic immunity from? A, Central African Republic, B, Ecuador, or C, United Arab Emirates? I'm going to have to go back to this screen. Lots of you saying B. Oh, it's a mixed bag, isn't it? Jenny JF, shall I say it again? A, Central African Republic, B, Ecuador, or C, United Arab Emirates? Now, you're all kind of split 3 ways here. And actually, they give a percentage of people who've answered which, and they're all split 3 ways too. So not a lot of people knew this. Central African Republic. A. A is the answer. A is the answer. Anyone got 4 out of 4? Anyone got 4 out of 4? MT2, ABC. What you like? Back to the class. Stand in the hall. Get out and stand in the hall and wait until Mr. Charles comes along. As soon as Mr. Charles comes out of his office, I'm going to tell him you're there. You meant B, Sarah. Yes, yeah, easy to say that after the event, isn't it? I told you the story of a friend of mine who, we did a test at school, maths test, and he was sat opposite me. I think it was Perry, and we put in all our notes, and the teacher, Mr. Wood, said, I knew you were cheating. I knew who you were cheating from. And he said, how? And apparently he'd copied my answers upside down. He'd written the numbers upside down. How silly is that? Love back to California, Alison W. 3 out of 4. Sally O'Sullivan, 4 out of 4. Jenny J is the taking part that counts. You're absolutely bloody right there, darling. You're bloody right. Of course you are. My son, get it in there, boy. What is wrong with you, boy? Call yourself a man? Okay, sorry, don't know what's going on. Question 5. Dolly Parton was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame despite thinking she was ineligible, alongside acts including the Eurythmics and Duran Duran. But which of the following nominees failed to make the cut? Which of these bands didn't get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? A, Pat Benatar, B, Eminem, or C, Dionne Warwick? It'll surprise you. Which of those 3 didn't and hasn't got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Was it A, Pat Benatar, B, Eminem, or C, Dionne Warwick? There are some people who, when they talk, they really jolt their head. I wonder if they have brain damage. Come on, my boys, come on. Come on, my boys. Aiden, you got it? Yeah, come on, you got it. C. Lots of you saying C, Will Ports, Ellen Jane Gabrielle. Lots of you saying C, Dionne Warwick. Clever counterintuitive answer, you're right, it is Dionne Warwick. What a shock. Question 6. There was a treat for stargazers in the form of a seldom seen planetary conjunction. And I looked this up because I was feeling really strange on the loo. But which 2 planets, pictured either side of New York's Empire State Building, I'm not going to show you, it's just 2 dots either side, appeared to collide over the weekend? Which 2 planets appeared to collide? Obviously they didn't collide, because if you'd done your astronomy and your science, you'd know that none of the planets are really close. But what looked like they were close? Which 2 planets became in conjunction, briefly. Mars and Jupiter, A. B, Jupiter and Saturn, or C, Venus and Jupiter. A, Mars and Jupiter, B, Jupiter and Saturn, C, Venus and Jupiter. Oh, I found this out whilst on the loo at about 11:45 in the evening. Lots of you saying B. Caroline Ibbotson, hello, you're saying B. Let's have a look what you're saying. Oh, lots of you saying Jupiter and Saturn. Lots of you saying Jupiter and Saturn. Nicola Higgins on the loo at 2:30. MT, you can come in now. Any more of that, and it's straight to Mr. Charles's office. B seems more logical, says Jenny J. Well, I'm afraid it's C, Venus and Jupiter. I thought it was Jupiter and Saturn myself. Venus and Jupiter. 6 out of 7, Russ Ouch. Russ is on for a, what would they call it? A full strike. Russ is on for a full house. Russ is on for a Brucey bonus. Okay, Russ, you're gonna hate me for this. Russ. Anyone? Oh, it's only me? You've got 6 out of 7 too. I've got a couple of 6s out of 7s here. Okay, well, I'm hoping that Russ, it's only me, and Orla, and Angela Thompson. Do you know your cricket? Oh, I hear the agony in your head.
I hear the sound of doorbells ringing.
One of cricket's greatest batsmen and recognisable figures, W.G. Grace, I remember this guy, not literally, obviously, had 685 runs, 67 wickets, and 2 centuries, scores of over 100, wiped from his records by the Wisden Cricketer's Almanac. And the Wisden Cricketer's Almanac, for those who don't know, but I knew because I was into cricket, is a ludicrous book that's published every year with every run and every ball that's ever bowled in the history of cricket. Someone somewhere there is very close to train spotting when it comes to cricket. So in the book that records all of this stuff, for who, I don't know, kids like me when I was 12, why did they remove 685 runs, 67 wickets and 2 centuries from all of his records? Was it A, your other half is a descendant, Steffi Quinlan? Is it A, his teammates moved the boundary in their favour during 10 games? Is it B, 10 of his matches were not deemed to have been at first class level? Or was it C, the renowned amateur was found to have paid for 10 matches? Oh, Christ. I do apologise to those of you who thought you were on for a full strike. I liked W.G. Grace's beard. I liked the way he held his bat. I'm into cricket statistics, or I used to be, and I didn't know the answer to this one. Lots of you saying the renowned amateur was found to have been paid for 10 matches. B, Russ Souch, no idea, you're guessing B. Russ, 7 out of 7, mate. Well done. 10 of his matches were deemed to not have been at first class level. We know Russ got 7 out of 7. Top of the class. Well done. Feeling a bit smug, Russ? Gonna have a skip in your step today, you Russy boy? You're gonna feel a little bit like I know more than you. I know more than you. Anyway, guys, a vlog is landing later today. Lots of love. Oh, and for family guest area peoples, I am hopefully going to be able to promise you a members live from Her Majesty, Miss N. Sawalha. So go Russ, well done Russ, well done anyone else who got close. Have a lovely, lovely day, stay safe, and don't forget, cricket is a game that should be not played in glass houses.